on down. You're the next contestant.
Okay.
And the Frightmare is right.
Hi. Oh, I don't know where the moderator is.
Yeah, I don't either.
Oh, here he comes.
Hello.
You don't need no stinking moderator.
Okay.
Oh,
I was about to step in, but
how are you? Good to see you.
Okay. Good.
All right, well, we're in this room. How are you guys doing today? Let's do a take two on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Texas Frightmare Weekend, the one and only Stan Shaw. Well, we are so excited to have you here today because, you know, I think a lot of us have been to a lot of conventions and we've never seen you yet. So it's really cool to be able to get to see you because
Oh, it's my first one here. So
yeah.
this is
So
great.
so I know that it's kind of unnatural to to sit there all day and get loved on, but it's kind of cool,
It's
right?
kind of cool. I'm loving here. I love Texas. Last time I was here, we filmed Tough Enough in Fort Worth, the Cow Palace. Dennis Quaid. But I've always enjoyed this place. The people were fantastic, and Texas is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and we have a lot of horror fans, so of course, who in here loves the Monster Squad? Well, I mean, we all love Monster Squad because, you know, 2,000-year-old dead guys.
I know.
Get up
I know. They blew me up.
Yeah. Now, but it's also pretty exciting too because people get to come up and they get to ask you whatever they want, and they probably have some strange and wonderful and interesting questions,
I
right?
have some strange and interesting, wonderful answers.
Well, good. We're going to get to those in just a second, but I want to know, because everybody loves Monster Squad so much, what was that set like? That must have been so much fun.
It was a lot of fun with the kids then. They're like grown now.
Yeah.
With all the kids running around. We didn't really know what we had. We didn't know it was going to be the Monster Squad that it is now, classic and all that. We just thought we had a great script and some interesting kids. I remember when I met, you know, Decker and all the guys, it was like instant. You know, I walked in and they said, "You want to do this?" And I went, "Yeah, it looks great." And then I met the kids, and my fondest memory was Ashley when she was a little girl. And I hadn't seen her in years because I didn't go to the events. I didn't even know they did these things. I was always working, so I didn't know about conventions and horror this and horror that. And I was on Twitter, and she tweeted me and said, "Hey, this is Ashley," and blah, 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 blah. She sent a picture. Well, when she was a little girl, she was like this big. And the smartest thing and cutest thing you've ever seen in your life. And when she learned her lines in a different language for the vortex, and she was saying all that stuff, and I'm watching her, and her mom was standing here, I went, can I have her? I want. I said, "You are just great." She ran up and gave me a hug. And I called her the little genius throughout the whole thing. Every morning I would say, "Hey, where's the little genius?" and bring her over, and I would get a hug and a kiss. And she was just so bright and smart. I'd never seen a little kid that smart. And I kept telling her, "Mom, just let me have her. I'll just, please." I said, "You can have another one. You had her." And so when she got in touch with me on Twitter, and I wrote her back and I said, "Do you know I used to call you the little genius?" She said, "No." I said, "Yeah." I said, "You were the cutest, smartest thing I'd ever seen in my life." And she just blushed. And then I saw her in person and gave her a big hug. But she was my thing back there, my drug, because I used to go to the set just to watch her.
Yeah.
You know, if I wasn't filming and she's filming somewhere, let me go see her. She was that cute. And I mean, she was Shirley Temple cute when she was filming. And the boys were just great. We just had a lot of fun. They were boys,
Yeah.
you know, with the gonads and all that. So, they did a good job on what they had, and like I said, the sets. You know, when they went to the little underground places in the film, and they're dropping the caskets in the water and all that. So you go and watch them film that. It was fascinating watching how they work, because that was my first time doing that genre. of films. And I really enjoyed it. We had a great time. There were no problems on the set, which is rare.
Yeah.
Especially with kids.
Oh yeah. And what a cool cast too. And I don't know if you guys knew this. Andre is a friend. He says hello to you and all of you guys. He said that Liam Neeson had a part on the film and they never used it.
I know.
So
I know. Can you imagine that? We had great people.
Yeah.
We had great people.
Well, I know you guys have. I love Frightmare because Frightmare has the best crowd, the best questions. So I'm just going to open it up to the audience. So who is the brave soul that's going to ask the first question? And if you could project a little bit, because sometimes not everyone can hear. Uh-oh. I see a clown staring at me. I'm kind of like a little unnerving. We're good. Okay, go ahead.
Well, when I talked to you yesterday, I was telling you some of my favorite roles that you've done. But and you don't have to say Monster Squad just because where you are, but what are some of the favorite roles that you've done?
Ooh. That is so tough for me. But, I love doing fried green tomatoes because I call them my girls. Kathy Bates, Jessica, and Lou and Stu. We all hung out after, and plus, Cicely Tyson playing my mom.
Right.
It was amazing because it's rare that you do a film and everybody hangs out on the off days or after the film is over. But me and the girls were always going to town getting dinner or dancing someplace, just us, or in somebody's room, watching TV and falling asleep, that type of thing. And Cicely Tyson it was my second film that I did with her. I did one called The Good Samaritan with Marty Sheen with her, where she played a bum, and I played a bum, a vagrant on the street. Just filming with her, this great thing happened because we were we stayed in Peachtree City and we filmed all around there, like in Newnan, Georgia, and that type of thing. And she gets a phone call when I'm in her apartment. My godmother has a 200-acre place in Monticello, and she would bring me all these pies and cakes. And Cecily was like, "Oh, I can go get sugar. I don't know." So she said, "I'm going to make you a peanut butter pie." I'd never had it, and I thought peanut butter pie. I thought it was going to be like a sweet potato pie thick. And why would you eat a peanut butter pie? And she brought it, and it was like a lemon meringue pie. It was like real fluffy. And I had a bite of it, and I was like, wow. And Cecily knocked on my trailer, and I said, "Come in." And I said, "Have you ever had peanut butter pie?" She said, "No." I said, "You got to try this to bite." My godmother there, she said, "Okay." And she took a bite and said, I want one. And I said, no, you don't eat that kind. I said, no, I'll eat this. I want one of these. So I went to her apartment later, and she gets a phone call. And she said, "Excuse me." And she said, "The phone is for you." No one knows I'm for me. I said, who is it? It was her husband, who was Miles Davis. Wow. And he goes, "Hey." And I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Take care of my old lady." And I said, "Oh, okay. Don't let nothing happen to her." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Put her back on the phone." And I went, "This is my old lady." She said, "He knows you." I went, it's like, and gave her the phone back, and she said, "Stan's gonna do good," and blah, 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 blah. That was like, I called my dad. My father was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame in 2014. So I called Pops and said, my godfathers were Howlin' Wolf and B.B. King. Growing up in Muddy Waters, they used to all rehearse at my grandmother's house in Greenville, Mississippi when I was a baby. And my my one claim to fame was when I was 1 year old, I actually peed in B.B. King's guitar case. And so the story goes, they were in the kitchen jamming at my grandmother's house in Greenville, Mississippi. And B.B. came in the living room and went, "Hey, this boy done peed in my guitar case." And my grandmother, God rest her soul, her name was Mary Ellen Scott. She said, hey, this here boy lives here. He can pee on anything in this house, including you. If you got something you don't want peed on, leave it out there on the front porch. And BB said, okay, Miss Ellen, I'm sorry. She said, I know you are. Now, don't talk about my grandchild. And she picked me up and said, come on, baby, you can pee over here. And took me away. So when I met him later in life, he was in New York, and Howlin' Wolf was doing a concert at NYU with my dad, and I was starring on Broadway. So after the show, I ran over and hung out with them, and we went and saw BB. And I'm like, I think I was 19 or 20 then. And my dad said, this is my big boy. And BB just looked at me like, yeah, hey. And I said, hey, good to see you. And he was like, kept talking. I said, I'm the one who peed in your guitar. He said, was that you? I said, yeah. So that was the most fun I had with someone who was famous at the time. And so I called my dad and said, I just talked to Miles Davis. And he said, you spoke with Miles? I said, yeah. He said, what? I haven't even met him yet. I said, well, Pop, you know it's different. You're a musician, but I'm acting with his wife. And, you know, that whole thing. But those were some of my enjoyable times off stage and meeting these guys. And Howlin' Wolf used to always see me and go, hey boy, no matter how old I was, hey boy, you got some money? I said, no, I'm good, I got some money. Here, take this with you. So they called my dad and those old cats, they call each other cats. This cat, he's a great cat. They used to call their money knots. I got to go get my knot, because they would have the money rolled up and pay them in cash for gigs. It would rubber the entire record. So Wolf would say, here boy, take that knot. And throw a knot to me, and it would be $2,000 or $3,000. And I say, wow. And my dad would say, that's a great man giving you a knot. You know, I say, oh, okay. So it was really cool growing up in that atmosphere. Now my little brother plays the triple neck guitar, and he's probably one of the best guitar players in the world right now. And he's a god over New York. His name is Eddie Van Shaw, if you want to look him up on YouTube. So.
Well, there's also another cool musical connection that I got to ask about, of course. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Your cousin, Sam Cooke?
Yeah, it's my mom's first cousin. I grew up, we had a lot of cousins. My dad also had a cousin named Tyrone Davis, who was an R&B singer. But, and we have another cousin named Major Lance, who did a song called Monkey Time. There's a place right across town. Whenever you're ready, dun 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 dun. When people gather around, whenever you're ready, dun 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 dun. And then the music began to play. It's monkey time, dun monkey time. Do the monkey, yeah. So that Sam had this song out when I was 7 or 8 years old, called "Don't Know Much About History," and it was big at my school. And I'd go to school and say, "It's my cousin." They would tell me I'm a liar, and the teacher told me I was a liar and stopped lying. And I used to go on crying. We lived a block from school, so I used to run through the alley for lunch and run back home. So I ran through the alley for lunch one day, and went in straight in the kitchen and sat down. I was sad. And my mother said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Nothing." She said, "Okay, go in the living room and get this." And I went in there, and there was a shadow of a guy sitting on the couch. And I said, like this. And he said, "Hey, Chad, how you doing?" And I said, "Okay." And he turned on the lamp. What's Sam? And he said, "Your mom told me that everybody don't believe you my cousin." I said, and he said, "You ready to go back to school?" So he took my hand, we got in the Cadillac with fishtail, it was cool. And drove to school. I got out of the car, grabbed me by my hand, leading me. He said, "Where's your classroom?" and the lady's name was Miss Bryant, I'll never forget. We went in the classroom, and I stood there with a grin on my face. It would rival the Joker's grin of Batman. It was all back here. And she said, and the kids looked and saw him. He was really famous then, so they recognized him. The kids looked and saw him, and he said to the teacher, don't ever tell a child who they're related to because you don't know who they are, and don't ever call a child a liar. And he said, this is my cousin, I love him, and don't ever forget that. And I was like, they announced that he was in school and it was a half day and that whole thing, and we went back. I didn't have to stay in school. I went back home with him, took some of my friends, and we drew pictures and like that, and he went back, and that was my big Sam Cooke moment. So in my family, there's always been someone doing something in the business. So if it wasn't Sam, it was my dad's cousin, or it was Bibi, or something else. And so I'm the only one that came out of the cousins to do what I'm doing, so I'm that guy now. And when I go back home and people say, well, my cousin was in Harlem Nights, well, my cousin was in, so they tell them they're lying. They're liars. And I have a half-sister, and I remember going home and staying at the house, and I'm sleeping across the bed in the guest room in boxer shorts. It was really hot, and I had the window open because I like to hear birds and the wind and all that. And I'm sleeping across the bed, and I hear, Stan, Stan. And I'm like, what? Come here, come outside. And I get up and think something's wrong. I go to the door in the boxer shorts. There's 2 carloads of teachers. I told you he was my brother. What are you doing? What are you doing? And so I go back to the bedroom, and she made me angry doing something, and she said, will you come to school? I said, no, I'm not coming to school with you. I got to leave and do a film. She said, I don't care. I don't like you anyway with your big head. And I said, fine. And she said, fine. And she said, when you come? I said, no, I'm not coming to school with you calling me that. Going to school. And she went to school crying. So the limo came to pick me up to take me to the airport. I stopped by her school and went to her class and looking through the door, and she was like this. And all the other kids were doing this. And then they told her I was here, and she just ran and hugged me and started crying. I'm going to cry about this. Yes. But there are little things you can say to kids that will elevate them and carry them throughout the rest of their life. And it's not that hard to give somebody hope. Hope can take you through all kinds of obstacles. It can take you through people rejecting you and all that. And people say, how do you go to an audition and they reject you? And they say no. When I'm rejected, it's not my problem. That's their problem.
That's right.
And what happened to one person won't happen to you, because God gave everybody their own fingerprint. There aren't any 2 alike on this planet. That means you have to live up to your print and worry about what God did for you and walk in footsteps that are pleasing to Him. And you can do anything on this planet because everything on this planet was here for us. That's right.
All right.
So I got a question.
Yes, sir.
And I experienced this with my father. Did you understand how good your father was when you grew up? Did you understand how good your father was growing up? And with the musical blood that you have running through your veins, I know you did Broadway. What shifted you from going and doing music to going into movies?
That's a great question. And it's funny how the circle comes around. I did Broadway. I starred in musical comedy. I starred in Hair and played the lead character in that. I starred in a show called Me Nobody Knows. And my last show was called Via Galactica, directed by Sir Peter Hall from London Shakespeare Company. And when I left Broadway singing, I came to Hollywood, and I didn't let anyone know I could sing. I just started acting because I would see, honestly, I would see great actors, but the black actors they were casting were football players who weren't actors. Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, these guys, and they weren't actors, and they were horrible. And I'm saying I'm better than these guys, so I'm going. My last show closed. I flew to LA, and I starved for a year. They wouldn't hire me for anything. Then they brought me in to replace George Stanford Brown, who was on the Rookies, because he was having a contract dispute. And he found out I was there, so he settled his dispute and took what they were going to give him. He later played my father-in-law in Roots. But, so there was this guy named Ben Vereen, who was on Broadway. Well, Ben was a song and dance man, not an actor. And Ben went to Hollywood, and they wouldn't give him anything serious because they kept saying, you're a song and dance man. So I would go to Hollywood and audition, and I would get parts because I was the actor. But I was a song and dance man, but I didn't show them that. Because in Hollywood, if you're blue, you're blue. You're not orange, you're not yellow, you're not rainbow, you're blue. And they didn't give you a shot at being orange or yellow or whatever.
But you were also an athlete.
Yes. You're good.
I'm a big fan of blues.
Okay. And yeah, I started taking martial arts when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I became a black belt in karate, judo, and jiu-jitsu by the time I was 16.
You didn't tell anybody about that at home?
No. My martial arts instructor was then Lieutenant Charles V. Grzansky of the Chicago Police Department. And Sensei Grzansky took me with him when I was 16 to help him train rookies at the police academy. That's a whole different story because he put me on a guy who was really racist, and he told me to go and tell him to do something. And he was teaching the other class, and I went and told him to do this, and he just kind of looked at me. And I'm 16, like, what do I do? And I went and told Sensei Grzansky, he said, Shaw, he called me Shaw. Shaw, what did I tell you to do? Well, you told me to get him. I said, but he wouldn't. He said, what did I tell you to do? And I said, I didn't know I could hit it. and I said, okay. He said, then do what I told you to do. And I went over and told the guy to stand up, and the other class stood up. And the guy wouldn't stand up. He kind of stood up and disrespected me, and I hit him in his throat. Bang! And I held him here, and I talked to the other classmates, and they started doing the routine I was doing. I really thought I was going to get in trouble. And I looked at Lieutenant Grzansky, who was standing in the doorway with his ankles crossed, leaving me like this, and he just did this. And he turned and walked away. And the guy listened to me the rest of the time. So I started doing films. And I'd sing in different blues festivals with my little brother.
Oh,
And yeah, and so now I leave, I'm here until tomorrow, and no one knows about this, because I started a film on location that I'm starring in. It's very much a Capra film. You know who Capra was? It's like It's a Wonderful Life, and I'm singing. It's called Winter Song. Before I left to come here, I was in the studio recording for 6 hours. I have 5 songs in it that I sing with. My leading lady is Ashanti.
Oh, wow.
And she recorded all her songs. They record you by yourself, and we have duets. So she recorded all of her songs Friday, did yesterday Friday?
Yeah.
I'll show you this so you can read this so you know I'm not lying.
You know, I don't think anyone's gonna accuse you of that. Did you see that punch? No bad questions, please.
So I called my director, or I wrote her, and I said this to her last night at 1:30 in the morning.
Say, hi Camille, how did Ashanti's recording session go today?
And she
And
said,
she said, hi Stan, Ashanti's recording went very well today. She blended well with your voice. You're going to love it. As soon as Michael mixes the songs, I'll send them to you to listen.
and I said,
How's Texas? And he said, it's awesome here. I love it, and the people are amazingly gracious. I'm looking forward to hearing the mixtapes. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Is everything else going okay? She said, I look forward to seeing you too. Things are going okay here. We have some great locations. We just cast the actor who's going to play your daughter. Things are coming along great. I'm excited for next week. Oh, and then he,
Oh, wait a minute, that's somebody.
I gotta tell you, tell them if they don't mind, the Jeepers Creepers 3 is his screensaver. Yeah, come on, he's facing off with the creeper. That's a cool screensaver I've seen all day. All right, and he says, as am I, who'd you cast as my daughter? Thrilled that Ashanti's voice mixed well with mine. Looking forward to making a classic. This paradigm is great. It's our time. And she said, it's our time. The woman playing your daughter is Shoshani Nicole.
And this is her picture.
Check her out. Wow. Beautiful.
I just cast her yesterday.
Wow.
And then I closed it by saying,
Let's see. And he said, great casting. And she said, she did an amazing audition. She was so thrilled to find out that she'll be working with you. And he said, wow, that's a blessing.
When you were growing up, did you understand how good your dad was?
yeah and no. I did because I used to watch them rehearse. And he's had nightclubs since I was a kid. My biggest concern then was taking my friends to the club after school, and I'd sit at the bar and get all the root beer in those frozen mugs and all the free potato chips I wanted. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I understood it because of how much other people revered him. You know, people I knew were stars, and because of all these cool suits he wore, and rings and stuff. Pops was amazing. But as I grew up older and I'd leave and come back, you know, my little brother would call me and say, you know, we called him Pops. Pops can do things with that saxophone nobody else can do. And the one time I really knew, I brought my music teacher from high school to see him at his club, and Mr. O'Banion, and he saw my dad play, and he started crying. You know, and this was a music teacher all through high school. And I'm like, I should have brought you here when I was a freshman. He said, that's your dad? Eddie Shaw? I said, yeah. He said, what are you, that's your dad? Yeah, and my father got off the, I had him in the club when a classic night happened in my dad's club on Roosevelt Road. There was a guy named Junior Walker. Junior Walker and the All-Star. He did shotgun, shooting before you run now. Well, I guess I'm 14 or something like that. I'm sitting in the club, Mr. O'Banion's with me. My dad's on stage, doing this thing. He had a song called Blues for the West Side that was a hit. The door where the bouncer is and the rope is, open the door, and Junior walks in with his sax. It's packed, smoked everywhere, women in their red dresses and high heels, and Junior hits, my dad turns and sees him and go, da 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 da, and Junior goes, and my dad goes, da 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 da. So they started challenging each other, and Junior gets on his knees and starts walking to my dad on his knees. And Mr. O'Banion is going, what the hell? And I'm just looking and smiling, and my dad jumped off the stage. There's this big woman, gorgeous, 6 feet tall, in a red dress and high heels, and she's standing up, doing this and just going to the music. Junior's behind her crawling. My dad got right here, laid on his back, crawled through her dress, underneath her dress, and he's blowing his sax. Then he came out the other side, blowing at Junior, and Junior said, I give. So I knew he was great from the way other musicians respected him. And I knew that Muddy Waters had a fight with Howlin' Wolf over my dad. This is great stuff. It's on one of the inside jackets of my dad's album. He tells the story. But my dad didn't drink. And he would go to, when he was working for Muddy Waters, he would go to the stage and rehearse. And they knew he didn't drink and he didn't want people drinking around him. Well, one day he went in to rehearse and the guys were drunk. Muddy wasn't there yet. And my dad got up to rehearse, and they couldn't follow anything and like that, and he got mad and he walked away. He said, I'm tired of this shit, and I'm not doing it anymore, and he quit. So 4 blocks away, this was in Chicago, Wolf was playing. So he walked in the Wolf. Wolf said, you play with me now. And come on, get up here. And Wolf was 6'4". And he got up and started playing with Wolf. Mud comes in his club and says, where's Shaw? And they're like, oh, he quit, man, he quit. And Mud got really mad. The hell? I told you not to drink it. Ah. He said, I know where he's at. And he got in his car and he drove down to Wolf's place. And he walked in the door and they were on stage rehearsing. I love when my dad was telling me this. And Mud walked in. And Wolf is, baby, now the Red Rouge done. He said, what you want? And he said, I come here for my man. And he said, he ain't your man no more. Shaw's with me now. And Mud said, well, come on, Shaw. And he said, hey, I'm tired of that. I told you I'm tired of that shit and I'm not doing it anymore. All they do is drink. I don't want to do that. And Wolf said, you heard what he said, now go on, get out of here. And Mud said, well, goddamn it, he owed me $300. And Wolf said, there's your $300. Now get it and get the hell out of here. And he kind of looked at him and was like a puppy. And when he picked up his $300 and kind of stood there, and Wolf was like, do you want to get out of here now? Do you want me to help you get out? And they kind of tussled, and my dad broke it up, and he went on, and that was history. And my dad, they went to England and did an album with Eric Clapton that my dad arranged most of the music for. And Wolf played in Chicago every weekend at my dad's club. And when he passed away, he just played in my dad's club. I have pictures of him, gosh, all kinds of great pictures of him, with my dad in his club it was his home. Whenever he was there, he stopped traveling the road, he would only play in my dad's club. And I remember one time, I think I was 13, I went looking for my dad, and I came to the club, and I said, where's Pop? He said, he's in the back. It was my dad, B.B., Wolf, Hubert Slumlin, and some more, Pine Top, Perkins. They were in the van, and I opened the van up, and I wasn't supposed to, and smoke came out like Cheech and Chong. Pop, my dad said, get out of here, boy. I said, okay, how you doing, Wolf? He said, get out of here, boy. and I left. But I've had great memories of that. I just finished my autobiography, and I put a lot of that in it, but it deals with my coming from Chicago from the beginning to working with all the actors that I've worked with, and it's called Richard, Eddie, and Me, After the Laughter. So a lot of that's in it.
Yeah, you guys can picture that whole story, right? Yeah. I was thinking, where is this book or where is this movie?
Yeah.
Well, and so when you say Richard Eddie, I mean Harlem Nights, so just Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, like that must have been like another crazy set. I mean, you've seen so many great things in your life, but that must have been pretty cool too.
Yeah, it was good. It was crazy. You know, my guys were Red Fox and Richard. Eddie's a different animal. He's just a different animal. When this book come out, they gonna come after me. Cause I tell everything I've seen, and I used to ask God, why you let me see this? I'm gonna need therapy. I don't need to see this. I don't want to see it. Lord, don't let me see that. But there was just a lot of things that went on in that. But Richard, it was my second picture working with him, because I did Bingo Long with him and became really good friends with him. And Red knew my dad, so I've known Red a long time. So it was an honor working with Red Fox, who would always, I went to my trailer one day, he was in his boxer short and his undershirt, and he had his door open and his screen door closed. Come here, boy, let me show you how to make a fruit salad. You eat right. Walking short, cutting up watermelon and peaches and grapes and all that, putting it in. And he's doing his culinary stuff in his drawers. And I'm like, Fred, I don't want to watch you in your drawers. Don't look at the drawers, look at the knife. I can show you how to So, I had some amazing times with him. Richard, I took care of when he was burned. I remember being in bed and hearing Richard Pryor was taken to Sherman Oaks Hospital. I lived like 5 blocks from the hospital, so I went there, and there were all these stars that they wouldn't let past the door. And it so happens that his 2 doctors' favorite movie was The Boys in Company C. So I walked through the crowd, and I'm standing like in the middle of all these stars making more money than I made. And the doctor saw me and went, hey, come ahead. So I was like, excuse me. You're like, who the hell? And the doctors let me in to see Richard. And so I went back in the back where they had Richard on the table. And his head was wrapped up like a mummy. He had the eye socket, the nose, just like he was stuffing his lips, but everything else, they had done skin grafts on him. And he was asleep. And the doctor was leaving, and I said, I'll just stay here. So I stayed there for 12 hours. And I sat by his bed, and he started to move at one point. And I stood up and stood over him, and he woke up, and he looked up at me and was scared. He went, like this. And he said, Stan Shaw, you the last motherfucker I expected to see. And I said, well, then he said, I'm gonna use the N-word. He said, he said, remind me not to owe your ass any money, cause you'll sneak up on a nigga, won't you? I started laughing, and he started laughing until he said, it hurts. I said, okay. So I stayed in the hospital with him, and I'd go up there at night and stay all night, because kids were breaking in the hospital, running through the hallways, yelling, hey, Richard Pryor! And I'm out there chasing them. Get the hell out of here, get out! I'm doing that. And when he got out of the hospital, it's a big thing, because guys like that, they have entourages. You know, people just hanging around to get the scraps that they, but I didn't do that. I work, and I paid my own bills, and I don't do entourages, and I'm from Chicago, and I go to black neighborhoods, and I go to Harlem, and I don't worry about having a crew with me and stuff, because I treat people differently than people treat that whole thing. But his entourage was furious at me. Because Richard got in the hospital and said, I'm going to Hawaii, get me tickets and get Stan tickets to go with me. And they were saying, well, what about? He said, I don't want them. I want Stan to go with me. So I went over there to train him every morning so his skin wouldn't shrink. You had to stretch him and everything. And we hung out. That's a big part of my book, the comparisons between he and Eddie Murphy, and how they treat people and how they treat each other, and plus the life. Richard had a hard life, man. I mean, he had a hard life from being 5, 6, and 7. Some of you may know it, but his grandmother ran a whorehouse. And he was like the towel boy. And he saw things through keyholes that kids shouldn't see. So all that stuff added up to who he is. And his not being PC, and what you saw was who he was. There was no filter in him. He was real. If he liked you, he liked you. If he didn't, he didn't. And he didn't give a damn what you thought about it. I remember I was in shock. He was on a Johnny Carson show one night, and he said, Johnny, I love cocaine. And he was like, and Johnny almost threw up. And he said, oh, did I say something wrong? I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. That's the way it is, but goddamn, cocaine, man. You know, and that's just who he was. And so I dealt with him on those bases, but I made him accountable because, you know, I got a little brother and I got bad cousins and all that. And my whole thing was, I don't care about your money because that pays your rent and my money pays my little bills. And what's yours is yours and I can't take it, and what's mine is mine and I can't give it away. That's just the way life is. So if you live in a mansion, that's great. That time I was in a 2-bedroom apartment, $250 a month. I had rent to pay for 2 years, and the only thing I owed was my phone bill because my car was paid for. I didn't buy one of these cars with payments and all that stuff. So I was cool, and I told Richard, I'm great. And he said, really? I said, yeah, I pay $250 a month for rent. He said, what? Dude, where you live? I said, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment and I'm good. He was in this $1 million, 12-bedroom. It was beautiful, but that's his. You know, he said, well, you want to come? I said, no, I'm going home. You know, and he would ask me one time, you know, everybody tells me you're hanging around because you want something, and I've been waiting for a shoe to drop. But you don't want shit. What's wrong with you? And I said, I just want you to get well, get back out there and make people laugh, and I'm done. And that was my relationship with him.
That's amazing. All right, who's going to follow up that? But no matter what you say, I feel like you're going to get a great story. So here you go, sir.
Ain't no way, but just in tradition. Just a few brief words on doing Jeepers Creepers. This is a horror convention. We got to hear the boogers go.
Yeah.
I love doing Jeepers Creepers. The way I got that film, I had another film offer, and Jeepers Creepers 1 is really my favorite horror film. I mean, I loved it. And I remember sitting in the theater going, how come I can never get films like this? And I called my agent and said, why can't I never? And she was like, Jeepers Creepers, what's that? Like, I want to, anyway. So I called her one day and was checking on her and said, what's going on? She said, oh, you got this great film offer from this and this and this, and we're looking at the script, we're going to send it to you. And before I hung up, she said, oh, and there's a little film called Jeepers Creepers 3 I called. And I said, wait, well, what? She said, Jeepers Creepers. I said, Jeepers Creepers? She said, I don't know what. I said, no. Who's doing Jeepers Creepers 3? And she told me the director's name. And I said, is that the guy that? I said, go look and see who did the first one. And she is the same guy. I said, okay, who called you? Who called you? Was who? And she said, well, the director called. I said, the guy who wrote it called me? And what did he say? I'm like, she said, he wants to meet you and talk to you about a role in Jeepers Creepers 3. But they're not paying a lot. I said, I'm doing that. I said, I'm doing it. I'll make the appointment. And so I went and I met Victor. And I had the script. And I was going to read a scene with him. Now, I didn't know at the time, but I started a miniseries called The North and the South Book 3.
Yeah.
And Don was his DP in Jeepers Creepers 3. He was my DP in that. But I didn't even see him sitting there. And Victor said, you want to read something? I said, yeah, I'll read. And the lady was going to read with me, and he said, no, I want the honor of reading with the great Mr. Shaw. And I'm like, damn, this is good. And we started improvising and reading, and he was beaming, man. He said, I can't believe you're here. And I was like, okay. I went home, and I didn't hear anything. Then I said, okay, let it go, because I don't run after stuff. If it's for me, it's for me. And then I get a call like 2 months later saying they were going to go to Vancouver. Then it was canceled. Then I get a call saying, I said, okay, it's not going to go. Then I get a call saying we're going to Louisiana. Then Victor called me and said, I stopped a lot of characters and I created this role for you. I want you to star in it. So it was bigger than the role that I saw when I wanted to do it. And I read the script, and he said, Testigo was the guy from Moby Dick. And he said, so Moby Dick is one of my favorite films, so that's the character I took out for you. And I got to the set, and it was great. And I was like, I called my little brother, I'm starring Jeepers Creepers 3. And I've done films with Sean Connery, with Kirk Douglas, with all these guys, with Ann Baxter, with all these great people, with Gene Simmons, the lady star from the 40s. And I'm up there saying, brother, I'm starring in Jeepers Creepers 3. And my mom said, what? Jeepers Creepers. She said, what's that? I said, it's a horror film and I'm going to do it. And so I got to Louisiana, and went on the set. And the first thing I saw was the scene, they had Jonathan on cables in the air. And I was like, and I took my camera and I'm taking pictures, and I'm like, this is so cool. And he was on a crane, flying. And I'm like, I wanted to know how they did all of that stuff. And I'm like, this is great, this is great. And he's doing this with the axe. And Victor, they do something called a storyboard for films. And usually in storyboards, the characters are like stick people. You know, it's like 2 arms, a leg, and they'll have this is your character, and this. It's basically done, the cameraman has set up shots. And all the director has to do is follow these shots. But these stick people, they had them draw me. It was me. And I'd never seen that. And I was like, this is, he said, yeah, it's you. And I went, what? He said, I envisioned you doing this from the beginning, so if you didn't take this role, I don't know what the hell I would have done, because it's you. So I've got all those shots now in my office. And I met all the guys, and he said he will send me stuff, like I got the gun that you're going to use in the truck, and the gun weighs this much. And so I went, every phase of the picture I went through with him, but then getting there, and he rolled this truck in with this massive gun, and he said, here's the baby you're going to kill him with. And I went, oh my, this is great. he said he's going to fly at you and you're going to shoot him in slow motion, and this is good. I'm like, what? I get to fight him? And you know, it was just a great experience. There were no problems with us. I mean, there were all these problems and rumors about Victor, who, you know, what he did wasn't kosher, but he served his time, which, you know, Woody Allen and those guys did. But Victor went to prison and he served his time and did his stuff, and we're a country of second chances and forgiveness, but nobody wanted to do that with him. But all these other guys who do this pedophile stuff that are out there and didn't serve time, people act like they don't exist. They overlook stuff. And I felt bad for the guy in talking to him and finding out his heart and what he did, and you know, and how he regretted, and he changed his life and all that. And I felt bad that people were just, I said, just make the film and go on and do what we do. And people were saying to me, how can you do this? How can you do this? And I'm like, how can you just hate? How can you just hate, man? I said, so I'm pretty spiritual, I'm not religious. But I've always believed if Jesus was here, he wouldn't be in Beverly Hills. He would be in Skid Row. He would be where people are miserable, where people are accused, the people who are in prison, the dope fiends. He would be with those people, touching them. And I believe, my personal belief, is that the closest person to Jesus Christ that was on this earth was Mother Teresa. And she lived in the huts, and she had dirt under her fingernails when she died. She had no shoes, dirt under her toenails. And she was in this village in India, and she told everybody, if you don't want your babies, give them to me. And she took care of sick kids, she took care of kids with autism, she took care of crippled kids, and she never asked for money. And you never saw her in anything clean. She was always dirty and in the dirt with people. And when she died, the country stopped. Everybody in India worshiped her, and they gave her this, they took her to this hospital, and all the top surgeons flew in to take care of her and all this stuff, and they buried her with this. That's what I think the heart of Jesus is. Not, you do something so I hate you and I hate you. A lot of times what's done by other people isn't about them. It's about how you react to them. Everybody will go through tests and trials and tribulations. You know, God's own son went through tests and trials and tribulations. So you know if there were tests for him, there's going to be tests for us. And it always won't involve us personally. It's what you think of what somebody else did and what you feel in your heart about that. So we have to check ourselves if we're to be anything worthy of praise. in the next life. My opinion. My opinion. Because I don't think we're all here to be individuals, even though we do individual things to take care of our individual families. But the raising of people should be about knowledge, about respect, of compassion, and all the things Jesus taught way back then still apply now. But people are so busy trying to make money and make ends meet that they forget and take shortcuts. And that should be in your DNA, because we're all being watched. All of us are being watched. Everything you do when you're angry and you're by yourself and you think you're known for it. You're known for it. My opinion. My opinion. And my great-grandmother passed away, and I always think she's watching me. So you gotta watch, and the Bible gives you guidance and hints of things you have to have in your heart, and what you can do, and what you shouldn't think of people, and the hatred and all that stuff. And so everybody was throwing all this hate at him and spewing all this venom. And the more venom you spew at people will eventually poison you. And that was my opinion of that, Victor.
Well, man, I could listen to stories all day from it, but I know that we're running towards the very end. So I'll tell you what, let's have one final really good question. We got it up here, and then we're gonna take a massive group selfie, and then we'll let him go. But you gotta go to his photo. If you get a photo op, they're really beautiful looking. You can do that, and then go by the table. But let's have one really good question.
Going back to Bingo Long, yes, there's a massive cast there too, a lot of stars there. Your fighter, song and dance man, how was it playing baseball?
I was playing baseball.
I wasn't the greatest baseball player, but I remember John Badham said he talked to a guy named Roy Huggins, who was the executive producer of Rockford Files and all these things. He was a big guy on the Universal Studio lot. John told me this later, and he said, I got this kid who, when I auditioned for that, I had very little money. I went out and spent my last money on some overalls with no shirt, rolled up in some sneakers with no socks, and I walked in his office like this. And he pretty much did what you're doing. He just started laughing. And I read the part, and he said, okay, let's take you out and see how you can play. And I couldn't play worth crap. I couldn't catch the ball. I was this, I was that. So he told Roy Huggins, I got this kid, he's got a great smile, he's amazing, but he can't play any damn ball. What should I do? And he said, you cast that kid immediately and you go get him. So, and in the meantime, I was calling him from phone booths, because there was no cell phones then, and saying, okay, I promise I'll practice, I promise I'll do this, I promise, and I got the part. So I went to his office to meet him and to sign with my contract, and he was on the phone with James Earl Jones. And he said, okay, I'll see you then. And I said, okay, thanks. And I got up to leave. He said, wait, Jimmy's coming down. You want to meet him? Like, Jimmy? He said, James Earl Jones. I'm like, he's coming here? And he said, yeah, he's coming here. So like 2 minutes passed and was knocked on the door. He opened the door and Jimmy walks in. Well, I used to be on Broadway, so, you know, Joe Papp and Shakespeare in the Park was like huge in New York. And Jimmy's standing there with this big grin on his face. So he says, Jimmy, I want you to meet Esquire Jones, the Shaw, he's playing that. And Jimmy said, how you doing? And I was shaking his hand like this. And he started laughing, going, can you give me my hand back? I said, you ain't getting this hand back. And that was my big moment with him. And then we got on set, and Richard came. Oh, there's so many stories, man. Richard came on set, and John had, I'll tell you this one quick part. But John set up a shot where he wasn't going to tell Richard what he was going to do with the camera. And he had the camera surprise Richard. And Richard was driving his old car with the Bingo Long guy, the convertible that's in the film. And it shot Richard. And Richard was high. And he turned, he turned the car and it went into a ditch. And John started laughing, and we were like, was he supposed to do that? And everybody thought it was funny, except Richard. Richard got out, he said, "What you do?" And John said, "Whoa, Richard, and Richard left. I'm leaving." And he went to the hotel and packed his bag. And they wanted to get him back, and he wouldn't come back. So they had to pay him $1 million extra to stay as an apology. So now we're on the diamond, and John is giving it, and everybody knew Richard was really pissed off. So everybody's quiet, listening to John, and I'm the kid on the set. I think I had my 20th birthday or 21st birthday on this set. And I'm on first base, and John is standing here, and Billy's here, and James Earl Jones is here. He's talked to everybody. Now it's time for him to talk to Richard. And Richard is standing here. He wouldn't look at Richard. He said finally, "Well, Richard, I want you." And Richard was looking at him like this. And he said, finally looked at him. And he said, "Richard, I want your insurance." Richard said, "No, motherfucker. You're going to apologize to me." And he said, "Richard, look, I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody." "Oh, no, you're going to apologize to me." He was twitching and twitching and twitching. And he looked like he was going to hit John. And later when I saw John and I was talking to him, he said, "Stan, I was so," and Richard had a cup of water. He said, "I thought he was going to throw that water in my face," and I was saying, "What the hell am I going to do when he throws that water in my face?" And we just kind of grabbed Richard and ushered him off, and he was doing this as he walked away. "You're going to apologize, motherfucker! You're going to apologize!" So, Bingo Long was great. We ended up having a great time and making a great film, and Richard got over it. But it was always interesting things when you work with Rich Pryor.
That's amazing. And like I said, we could be here all day doing these stories, right? We're going to do the big send-off and the big round of applause. However, let's do a massive group selfie here, because we got everybody here, right? And this is a very rare thing that we get Stan Shaw here. So ready?
I want to get one with me.
Yeah, let's do it. You guys all going to jump in somehow? If you want to stand, if you want to move in. You didn't tell me I look like this. I look like a thumb right now. All right, here we go. All right, awesome. All right, everybody. Big Texas round of applause for the one and only Stan Shaw, everybody.